Okay. What else did I want to talk to you about? What else? Oh, Crystal Ball. Crystal Ball on Bill Maher. Did Krystall actually do decently? I haven't watched this yet.
Here's my question about Joe Biden for you two. Has he pandered to the far left? A, too much. B, too little. Not at all. Because AOC would say not at all.
Well, if you look
Other people would say he panders way too much to the far
If
left.
you look at the trajectory of his presidency, at the beginning of his presidency, he did some of the things that myself as a person on the left would like him to see. He passes the COVID relief bill, and lo and behold, he had very high approval ratings.
You're not always on the left.
Then, I am on the left. I'm a Bernie Sanders leftist.
There's the populist economic left, and then there's the woke left. And these are two separate.
In any case, let's talk about what he's actually done. So in the beginning of the administration, he passes that. Very high approval rating, doing extraordinarily well. When he puts out the left agenda in the Build Back Better, and then it fails, and he stops delivering for the American people, that's when he falls off.
What do you mean by the left agenda in the Build Back Better?
Well, there's universal pre-K.
Put meat on that.
It's not everything that I would want.
Right.
No Medicare for all. There's no Green New Deal. But you had universal pre-K, you had affordable child care, you had elder care, you had an expansion of Medicare. You had things that would have delivered for the American people. That falls apart, partly because...
Lowering prescription drug prices. I mean, there was like 8,000 decent things that if he had passed it, he would have gone down in history as a very effective president. And now he will go down in history as Jimmy Carter II, electric boogaloo, green energy investments. Exactly. Actual stuff. Public transit. There was a provision for public housing. There was a child tax credit, permanent expansion.
As a mansion, cinema, parliament, all of that falls apart. And since now the American people are feeling incredible pain with inflation and gas prices and unable to put food on the table and put gas in the car, and he's basically ceded the ground and said, there's not much I can do. I just hope the Fed gets this under control. Yeah, the approval ratings have fallen off a cliff. That has nothing to do with the left. I wish the left had more power. In fact, I think the left is the only part of the political spectrum that has offered anything to deal with inflation, gas prices, and the current economic situation that doesn't just involve, hey, let's trigger a recession and kill people's wages.
Well, I mean, part of this inflationary problem is because we put too much money into the economy.
You know what? I want to say something. She hit it out of the park. I only have minor notes. You know, we didn't raise the minimum wage. Inflation took off anyway. I guess the minimum wage doesn't do it, huh? Didn't raise the minimum wage. Yet inflation went off. The last person to raise the minimum wage was George W. fucking Bush. Yet inflation still took off. It looks like minimum wages don't cause inflation.
There's way too much government spending, and that's why we have inflation. So that's
what? We have inflation because we have an energy crisis. We shut down the economy because of COVID, and then we started it back up again. And during that shutdown, businesses cut productive capacity, including the oil industry. That's one of the things that Donald Trump cheered, is he went to Saudi Arabia and got them to cut production because oil prices went too low. They went to the negatives. Oil prices were literally negative. They were paying you to take oil because they had too high of a pressure in their pipeline system. And Trump successfully went and got them to cut production. But when the economy started to tick back up again, now there's a huge lag in the production. So we have ourselves low wages, reduced capacity, and then Russia invades Ukraine, and us genius fucking people that we are declare, let's have sanctions on Russia, which is another cut to supply of necessary resources like food and energy. So we have sanctions on Venezuela, sanctions on Iran, started again by Trump. So we cut off the largest source of oil, Venezuela. We cut off a major source of oil in Russia and Iran. And now suddenly we're surprised when oil prices go up. And everything in American economy is dependent upon energy. At the end of the day, energy is what runs the economy. So we have a actual global shortage of oil and food. That's causing those prices to skyrocket. Then in China, they've had COVID lockdowns. We moved our entire industrial economy and productive economy to China. And when they shut down, that means no treaty treats for us, whose bright idea was to move it overseas. Oh, right wingers, neoliberals, free market freaks, free trade freaks. Well, they got what they wanted. And what did we get? An incredibly fragile economy that couldn't handle an exogenous shock. Every single problem you see is neoliberal and right wing. Every single fucking problem we have is their fault. And there's a straightforward leftist solution to every single one of those problems. It's that fucking simple. It's not hard. It's easy. Oil prices, lift the sanctions on Venezuela and Iran. Allow those countries to trade their natural resources at a fair price. Housing crisis, build public housing using the Vienna model of social housing. Homelessness, same thing. Housing crisis. The fucking lack of treaty treats, move American production back on American soil. People say, oh, manufacturing jobs don't exist anymore. Yes, they do. China has more. They have more people in manufacturing right now. They have 130 million people have manufacturing jobs in China. That's almost more people that are working total in the US. Manufacturing jobs exist. They just exist in China. That's why they're the fastest growing economy. That's why they're the second largest economy. Oh, and by the way, inflation in China, 3%. So that, my ladies and gentlemen, is the issue. And so what do you got to say to that, right winger? You got nothing. You just have to say things are bad. Biden's fault. Yeah, they are Biden's fault because he's a right-wing dipshit blinkered by his ideology.
It's a large part of that. It's basic economics. And
that is not basic economics. We had this thing called a pandemic. We had a supply chain crisis. And by the way, there's a war in Ukraine.
It's played a role.
So to act like the only reason we have problems now is because people got a little bit of money in their bank account is just not honest.
Also, that money's gone. That money is gone. People are not using, they don't have pandemic money anymore. The fact that somebody got $1,400 last year doesn't mean that caused inflation today. That's fucking stupid.
A little bit of, they got more than we spent in World War II. So you don't act like
that was 1940 fucking 5. Things were a little bit different back then, you dummy.
Whoa.
Hold on.
Don't act like, you said don't act. Don't act like we had to react to the pandemic exactly the way we did. We hacked it.
It would have been worse, you dumbass.
How about the trillions that the Federal Reserve shot at Wall Street? For some reason, people don't get upset about that. And that fueled the trillions of dollars the Federal Reserve shot at Wall Street to backstop the stock market and the bond market. No one gets upset about that, even though that was a massive factor in inflation.
What do you mean shot at Wall Street?
What? He doesn't know what you're talking about? He doesn't know what you're talking about? How about the $600 billion of loans that were just forgiven in the PPP program? What about the quantitative easing? Where the Federal Reserve bought trillions of dollars of bonds and money they printed and gave it to Wall Street. What the fuck you talk? How do you have a politics show? How? $6 trillion fucking dollars in quantitative easing. I'm sorry for yelling. I know that makes people go, oh, you're yelling. You can't be saying something important. Don't yell. I'll say it calmly. The Federal Reserve printed $6 trillion and gave it to Wall Street by buying troubled assets for cash that they printed from nowhere and put it on the Fed's balance sheet. Go look at Fed balance sheet expansion. You can Google that and you'll see what I'm talking about. The federal government gave hundreds of billions of dollars in cash to wealthy business owners in the Build Back the PPP program and then forgave all those debts. A $1,400 check to everybody 2 years ago doesn't compare in scope to that. Which was, how much was that? A couple $100 billion? Fucking dipshit.
Well, when are we talking about?
We're talking about buying assets, buying stocks, buying bonds, buying treasury bills so that they expand the balance sheet.
How do you not know about this? How is this possible? How is it fucking possible to not know and be on politics discussions? How? Legitimately, how? How do you not know? How?
This is during the crisis, the coronavirus crisis. When the stock market crashed, that is what the Fed did. They went into action. They shot trillions of dollars.
But the stock market didn't crash during COVID.
Now it's crashing.
Yes, it did. Oh my God, he's a fucking idiot. He's a complete fucking idiot. Here it is. See how it was 29,398 on February 14th, and then it was 19,000 on March 20th? It dropped 33% in 1 fucking month. He's a fucking idiot. So Krystall has to have, by the way, if I went on these shows, I know all this stuff off the top of my head, so I could easily respond. And the fact that Krystall is being required to recall the fluctuations of the fucking stock market in real time because they're mind-bogglingly stupid and they know their brains are rotten. This just happened 2 years ago, bro. My God, he's stupid.
Now
it crashed and the Fed came in and backstopped it. That's what happened.
What, it crashed and we never heard about it?
No, it crashed. Go back and look at it.
I think
it fell off a cliff.
When?
The Treasury bond market stopped functioning and the Fed took extraordinary action it's never taken in history.
I don't
Somehow
remember
no one
that.
gets upset.
The first week of the
Somehow nobody gets upset about the rich people who got tons of money and tons of support, way more than working class people did.
Sure
but
they
oh
do.
my God, people were able to feed their kids and they had a little bit of money in their bank accounts. It was the worst thing in the world.
No.
That is one small part of the inflation story, and it is, by the way, not the only thing that we can deal with to get out of this mess.
Well, gas
so
prices.
Biden has
Is it a small
advocated-
part, Jamie?
Gas prices we can largely attribute to an administration that's been waging war on the fossil fuel industry.
Oil production is up from where it was when he left office, you dumbass. That's just a lie. A blatant fucking lie. There's a massive war in Ukraine, dummy.
That's ridiculous.
And
They
now
drilled
demand-
more than everybody. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I said.
U.S. production.
No.
Okay, U.S. production is up.
Well-
it will be at record levels next year.
Okay, well-
The fossil fuel companies themselves are flush with cash, but will not invest in new drilling because they would rather give it to their shareholders.
Okay, all right,
That's the truth of what's
well,
happening.
here's the truth.
What are you shaking your hands for? That's factual. This is she's stating fact. This isn't even debatable. Everything she just said is pure fact. Nothing is debatable. You can shake your head. I'll shake your head off your fucking neck with my open palm, you fucking piece of shit. Put me on that stream with that guy. Never mind. Holy shit. It's a fact. There's nothing to shake your head about. What are you shaking your head at? Facts for? Holy shit.
Just read it today. In 2020, Biden said no more drilling on federal lands. No more.
No Keystone Pipeline.
Yeah. No.
New drilling.
And also
New fracking. He didn't even say no new drilling. He said no new fracking, which he did not implement. Biden's first-year drilling permits stomps Trump's by 34%. Thousands of permits okay despite president's authority to end drilling. Oops. See, this is the actual fucking facts. We're just making shit up. We just make up lies full fucking hog. Man, I'm sorry. I can't listen to this shit. They just lie blatantly.
Well, antagonizing the Saudis with his Iran deal policy, and now he's going back to them hat in hand to get them to increase their production.
But I bet you're in favor of the Russian oil ban. Because the Saudis are great humanitarians.
Russia is raping a country right now.
Yeah, and the
Saudi
Saudis
Arabia
are amazing humanitarians.
The Saudis are raping Yemen right now. The Saudis are raping Yemen right now, and they have a fucking authoritarian monarchy which kills people for witchcraft. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, there are allies. There are allies.
Well,
There are allies, so we don't pay. Well, we care about human rights, except if there are allies, suddenly the human rights don't matter. You hypocritical fucking, you worm, you vile scum. I legitimately think, and I really want to say this, he's ontologically evil. There's nothing you can do to an ontologically evil entity that is wrong.
Listen,
Okay.
but
Well, instead of, let's just talk about why these things really happen. Is
Yeah.
because people think that they can. I wish we were all off fossil fuels forever.
Sure.
But the truth is that when people get off fossil fuels before they have a replacement, they wind up going back to even worse fossil fuels. Germany said, we don't want nuclear power anymore.
Yep.
Which
That's
is the
true.
cleanest.
Yep, that's true.
And what did they have to go back to? Coal.
And Russian gas.
And basically the same thing happened here. We said,
That is complete fucking delusional bullshit. No one's saying get off nuclear power. The conservatives in Germany went off nuclear power so they could prop up their domestic coal industry. Their Joe Mansions were in control. Angela Merkel was a Christian conservative. Stop pretending like it was some sort of like Green New Deal thing they were doing. My God, how dumb are you, Bill? Jesus Christ.
Saudi Arabia, go fuck yourself. You killed a journalist. And now Biden is going over there hat in hand begging them for oil because people want their gas.
which is
We
pathetic.
don't need
And
oil. We have enough oil. Europe needs oil. Japan needs oil. We have a global fucking oil market. You want to solve? We produce enough oil in the United States, Canada, and Mexico to solve those countries' oil needs. We could say it's a closed market to those countries. Well, that's too radical. We can nationalize oil like Norway does or Saudi Arabia does and use our oil resources to benefit our own fucking country instead of selling it overseas so that they can have profit for their shareholders. It's American goddamn federal land that they're taking the oil from. The land we own in common, they're getting away with an eighth royalty. Instead of us getting 100%, we're getting 1/8. Fucking disgusting. These liberal scum. I'm sorry for losing my shit, but I hate Bill Maher and I hate this conservative worm. And Krystall did okay. She did good. Factually, she did good. But you got to be more aggressive. You got to be more aggressive. I would say stop the show. Producers. Is the oil... Did Biden approve more oil leases than Trump? Yes or no? Google it. Show it to Bill. These are factual statements. We need them to be resolved. Fact check. Have a goddamn tablet on the thing and fact check it in real time. Hold it up to the monitor. Fact check. Biden approves more oil leases. You got to have a little bit of showmanship and a strategy because they just deny facts. And then people go, who do I want to believe?
The way, the only issue with oil is not just supply and demand, because as I was just saying, we actually have a fairly significant amount of supply. It isn't at, extraordinarily low levels if you look at the recent past. We don't have an extraordinary amount of demand. We're not even back to pre-pandemic levels. You do have a massive amount of Wall Street speculation that is also causing an increase in gas prices.
Yeah.
So again, this is what I'm saying, that the only people who are talking about
and
that, and there's a lot of price gouging.
There's a lot of gouging.
So you asked
whether... always depend on them to gouge.
You asked whether Biden is not pandering to the left enough or too much or whatever. The left are the only ones talking about those issues, about the fact that you have monopolies that have jacked up prices far above what they need to because they can use the excuse of inflation. And CEOs are bragging on earnings calls about how they've lifted prices and gouged consumers, and we're not doing anything about it.
Can I ask another question?
And by the way, he intelligently doesn't say anything. Because everything Krystall is saying is right, a conservative intelligently doesn't say anything, so they move on. Because he's a loser. Krystall did great. That was great. Legitimately, Krystall did great on there. I'm proud of her. That was pretty great. Actually, you know what? Let's watch the overtime. I'm curious. Now I'm curious. I'm losing my voice because of Bill Maher. I think I've yelled more this stream. Mike is going to be in a WAPO piece about me. I just saw the edit.
Okay.
Nice. I'm in the Washington Post again, chat. I get like one quote, I'm sure. Look at that. I'm moving up in the world. This is like my third or fourth quote in the Washington Post. Pretty based. Everybody follow. How about not yelling? I'm sorry. Emotions sometimes get the better of me.
Back on overtime. Okay, here are the questions. Jamie, in your new book, you write that Ronald Reagan's administration proved to be the gayest of any presidential administration yet. Why is that?
Just the sheer number of gay people working in it.
Did he know?
Man, the open hypocrisy of Republicans and the cosmopolitan right. The one thing that would be nice. The one thing that would be nice would be like, never mind, I'm not even going to say it. You know what? I'm going to edit myself.
Well, actually, one of the big scoops in the book was that in 1980, 3 weeks before the Republican National Convention, it was brought to the attention of Ben Bradley, who was at the time the editor of the Washington Post, the allegation that Ronald Reagan was being controlled, and I'm not lying here, that he was being controlled by a homosexual network of right-wing anti-communist gays.
It could be.
They were controlling him as a Manchurian candidate. And the Washington Post investigated this. They sent out Bob Woodward was one of the reporters, several other reporters. They investigated it. And they did find that there were some gay men working for Reagan, but the notion that this was some sort of conspiratorial plot.
When the log cabin Republicans started?
It sort of started 2 years earlier, actually, in California, when there was a ballot initiative to ban gay school teachers. And Reagan actually came out against it, and Reagan was really decisive in defeating it, actually. in 1978.
And log cabin Republicans, of course, refers to Lincoln.
Yeah.
Who was gender fluid? I mean, there's rumors.
He shared a bed with a man for several years on the American frontier, which was not that unusual in the 19th century. Although if you read the letters that he exchanged with this guy, they're pretty hot and heavy. So
right. But he also went to the Tonys every year. Is that...
Bill Maher is such a hack.
Doesn't matter.
He's such a hack.
All right. Krystall, CNN's new boss wants the network to steer away from sensational, hyper-partisan coverage. Yes, I saw that. CNN, you can't refer to the election as the big lie or Trump's big lie as the big lie. Which, again, see, I mean, I'm totally on the page of it was the big lie, but I think that's the right thing.
Yes.
I mean, now you're MSNBC, even though it's sort of like Jack Del Rio. He's totally wrong, but I defend his right to be wrong. Okay. Do you think CNN will actually stick with this new plan?
No. I mean, they actually... Listen, my issue isn't actually with opinion journalism. If you're upfront about what your lens is, no problem with that whatsoever. I do have a problem when it blinds you to facts and honesty. And I think both CNN and MSNBC, their maximalist ideas in terms of Russiagate didn't end up working. So that's the issue I have there. Will it work? No. Because ultimately, what's going to happen? Trump's going to come back. Guess what's going to rate? The people who go, the furthest in on Trump, that's what's going to get the best ratings. This is a business. It's a business model. I think it's an abhorrent one that leads to a disaster for America. I think it's a cancer on society, all of the cable networks. But ultimately, those are the incentives they respond to. So, no, I don't think it's
So what do you
really
mean by
change.
maximalist ideas about Russia?
Like the P-tape stuff, MSNBC.
Steele dossier.
MSNBC floating that he's been a Russian asset since 1985, all that sort of stuff.
I mean, the Senate Intelligence Committee, which is controlled by Republicans, said that Trump's involvement with Russia was a grave
Bill Maher knows almost about the Senate. He knows the Senate Intelligence Committee shit about Russiagate, but he doesn't know that the fucking Federal Reserve pumped $6 trillion into Wall Street after the stock market crashed by 33% in a month. It's amazing what he knows and what he doesn't know, isn't it, chat?
Security threat.
Okay, but that's not the same as saying Putin has a P-tape and servers are bouncing back and forth.
P-tape was always lurid, and who knows? I mean,
if you don't like that one, then let's talk about the lab leak and the idea of where the coronavirus came from and the fact that these outlets said that not only could it no way could it come out of the lab, but that's racist to say. So
I've been all over
that's what I'm saying is I have an issue when your ideology blinds you to facts. That's
I have
my
that
problem.
issue every week on this show.
Yes. Yes, I don't have an issue with opinion journalism is what I'm saying.
But the idea that Russia and Trump were inappropriately intertwined, I mean, his campaign manager, Manafort, was sharing polling information with this guy Kalimnik, who was...
The Mueller report found that there was no collusion. And we were promised this. We were promised this for 3 years.
They overpromised.
That's not what it found. Oh my God. They're just lying about the Mueller report. Jesus Christ. This is what happens. You don't prosecute the right wingers. Even when they commit crimes, they will say that they're exonerated and call you a liar for investigating them. So the liberals again lose again. Mr. Fancy Pants, thanks for the 24 months. Modest days, thanks.
It's really in cable news.
But there wasn't
cable
nothing.
News every day.
There wasn't nothing.
It was something else.
There was something.
It wasn't nothing.
But you know what? The truth was bad enough with Trump and Russia.
Correct.
Why did they have to embellish it?
You're right.
Why did they have to embellish it?
What he did in public
was bad enough.
Right.
We disqualified him for the presidency.
Right.
He said that maybe maybe Russia can keep Crimea.
Oh,
that to me was disqualifying.
How about siding with Putin?
That too.
At Helsinki.
Right.
Like, my 17 intelligence agencies tell me one thing. I got to go with you, Vlad.
It was a disgrace. But they couldn't.
But just side with America. Is that a big ask?
The problem with so many people in the media, they couldn't take that alone. It had to be this Baroque conspiracy going back to 1987. He was recruited by the KGB.
Right.
I mean, it was just, it was such a scandal, actually, when you look back on it, how we were deluded by this.
What we were sold and what the reality was were not the same. I don't think anyone
But
can say
since
that
he doesn't care about, clinical narcissist.
But our standards should not fall because of him.
But the idea that he would do that is completely believable. And he would have done it.
Well, that's why people bought it. But
well,
if you're in the news business, I mean, that's why I think cable news is such a cancer, is because ultimately it is just about the ratings. They don't care they got it wrong. They're never going to correct the issues.
I couldn't agree
so
more.
is that going to change with the new boss? No.
And it's just about saying the things that make your audience go,
yep.
Yes, I already believe that. Thank you for reinforcing what I believe.
And never letting anything outside of the bubble in. And that's Fox News, that's MSNBC, that's
exactly.
CNN. Yeah.
Okay, Danny, if you could write a screenplay about the 2020 election. Okay, so, I was going to ask you this. Game Change. Okay, that was about 2008 and Sarah Palin.
Sure.
That was great. Loved that. My boy Woody Harrelson was in that one.
Great guy.
Great actor. Okay, the other one you did, Recount, was about the 2000 election. So yeah, you're kind of due for writing
a new election movie.
Yeah.
Wait, you know?
So this question is, what would you title it, and are you thinking about doing that?
We got to do a Romney-Obama first, though. That's the real action. Is
Mitt Romney. Now
that's an exciting election movie. I think that. I mean, look. The problem with doing a Trump movie, because the guy who directed those two movies, Jay Roach and I, have been talking about it for years, is every day is crazier than the day before.
Yes.
Right. So how do you turn that into a piece of drama that has something to say that doesn't become, irrelevant the day after you start writing it?
Right,
so.
and he could be president again.
And then there's a new movie.
And then put you in Guantanamo Bay for making that movie.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you coming.
Thank you, Bill.
Oh, God. Bill is so fucking stupid, dude. Yeah, I think that guy's actually pretty cool. He didn't talk. It's a shame. All right, everybody. I'm sorry for yelling. Are you watching the stream unsubbed? You're making income inequality worse. You are doing anti-praxis. We are the only Twitch stream that will not accept scam advertisers, and I will never fuck you over by selling you crap.